What's up, guys? I'm Dan from Adventures in Guitarland, where I teach you how to play guitar by playing a role-playing game. Wow, I almost forgot my own little slogan there. Nonetheless, today we're going to go over how to be a blacksmith, or at least how to do the things that a blacksmith would do for your adventuring party, but with guitar. And that is take care, maintain, and upgrade your gear. So that being said, occasionally you'll see a video that has blacksmith next to it. It means that it's teaching you how to do something with your gear, whether it's changing strings, replacing pickups, or changing pots, anything of that nature. That's what this is. It's a do-it-yourself, if you will. That being said, before we get into all the ins and outs of this, go ahead and click the like, subscribe, and bell icon so you're notified whenever I come out with new content. Also, leave a comment below. What strings do you use? Do you have a preferred brand yet? Does your father, mother, a friend, what gauge strings do you use? Or are you confused by what gauge you should use? Let me know in the comments below, and if I see anything that I'm like, oh man, maybe I should make a video on that, we'll do that. Also, I'll try to engage with you. But without further ado, let's get into this process. All right, so first of all, when do you change your strings? Well, I personally, when I'm not playing a gig or I'm not gigging actively, I change my strings about once a quarter, normally. Past few years, I've had a lot of surgeries on my right arm, as you have probably been able to see from all the different scars I have on there, and haven't been playing. That being said, this guitar hasn't been restrung since I started playing again. It needs it badly, amongst some other things. That being said, about quarterly is a good, roundabout thing. The reason you change them, one is to clean them. These are dirty and they have some oxidation spots, which I'll show you. Two is they do lose some of their sound quality. So this has it still has plenty of its mids. It's lost some of the high brightness that it used to have to it. It definitely, the bass is gone. They're dead strings. They have a dead sound. And I will play this at the end with, the clip that I had at the beginning and then a clip with it restrung. And you'll hear the difference. It's actually quite astounding how much of a difference that little tweak can make. That being said, it also makes it easier to play. Old strings are harder to play. They're not as pliable, they don't work as well. Now, before you go ahead and restring up your guitar, I want you to look at a couple things. First, number one is, well, I'll just show you this. Is there any string oxidation? So, as you can see, all through here, there's little dark spots. That is oxidation on the brass of the string. Simple as that. That's a surefire sign I need it to be changed. That can also happen on your straight steel strings that aren't copper wound as well. Two, look at your fretboard. I will try to get this to show up, but you can see, there we go. Let me get this pen. Right up here. Do you see how this is dull and then it gets a little shiny? That is because these dull areas, which they're all over this fretboard, is where moisture has been completely sucked out of the wood and it needs to be reconditioned. I will cover reconditioning and cleaning in a separate video, so it'll be the one that comes out right after this one. So don't worry, that's coming as well. One other thing you want to check for is to see if there's any fret buzz, and it's real simple to do that. Just each string right behind each fret, go all the way up and listen for any buzz. Now I already know this guitar doesn't have fret buzz because I checked that ahead of time. But, you hear that? That might be kind of what fret buzz sounds like on your guitar. That's me actually making the buzz sound because I'm hitting at the wrong spot on the fret and doing it lightly. What causes fret buzz is a fret that is in front of the one that you're fretting is too high. It's typically either the one right after it or the next two or three. So somewhere typically in there is where that high fret is. And you can find it out if, oh man, I got some fret buzz there. I still got fret buzz, it went away. Well, guess what? That fret right there, that 7th fret, that's probably the cause. So you don't need to know that necessarily right now, especially if you don't feel comfortable working on your guitar or anything of that nature. Just note it, because if that's the case, before you change your strings, grab that pack of strings that you were going to change them to, go down to your local music store, whether it's a local mom and pop, small business, or if it's something like a Guitar Center, take your guitar in there with your strings and say, look, I was just going to replace my strings. I noticed some fret buzz. Do you guys have a technician on staff that can do it for me? 9 times out of 10, yes, they do. And they're perfectly able and qualified to go ahead and go, oh, yep, you have that fret buzz right there on that 7th fret. Here's the culprit. They have tools to find it out, and then they go, okay, we'll take it. They'll charge you a nominal fee, discuss it ahead of time, and then they'll fix it for you. No harm, no foul. So there you go. I might cover that on when I restring up my electric, because I think it has a couple dead spots, and I'll show you how to fix that. But word of caution, I'm not saying that you have to fix your own stuff. I do recommend taking it to a professional, especially if you're new to working on your gear or new to even playing. Take it to a professional, let them do it. It's not as expensive as you think. That being said, let's show you how to change the strings on this guitar. When preparing to change your strings, you need to make sure you have everything. Your guitar set on something sturdy with some kind of a soft, sturdy thing under it. Your strings, of course, going to be critical since you're putting those on. Something like a string winder will make this process much faster. Additionally, once you have the strings wound and to take these off, you need something to cut them. Actual string cutters are great. Needle nose pliers also typically have a wire cutting feature on them that will work in a pinch. On top of this, some kind of a lint-free cloth to wipe away dust. And in this particular case for me, I know that I need an actual cleaning to happen to this fretboard. So that is fretboard cleaner. You don't necessarily have to have it right away, but if you do get one, I recommend getting one that is meant to be used on a guitar. Now, up at the headstock, the first thing you're going to need to do is loosen these strings quite a bit. So just remember that on the left side or the side closest to you, winding down will loosen them and winding up will tighten them. It's the reverse on the opposite of the headstock. So just keep that in mind. I'm not going to show this whole thing to you guys. As you can see, I got them all nice and floppy now. Now, move up to the middle of the guitar. Some people will say cut these over the actual soundboard. I prefer to do it right around the 12th or 13th fret, and I'll show you why later. So firmly grasp it, preferably on the end near the body, and then cut through. And you can just repeat this process for all the strings. It's pretty simple, pretty quick and easy. Now, once you have that done, go to the top of the headstock, unwind them off of your tuning peg, and it will fall right out. Put these off to the side. Don't just let them fall wherever. Now, as you can see, I got kind of a dirty headstock because it's been cleaned in a while, and you can really see that this fretboard needs cleaned and conditioned. Now, on the other side of this, you'll note that with this particular winder, it has a little spot that fits directly under those string pegs. Perfect, that's what it's there for. Pull up and gently remove it. Repeat this process for the rest of the pegs. Now that you have those out, the strings should come out of the saddle very easy. This one had colors on the end to color code the strings. Not all of them will. So make sure that you're paying attention to what string gauge you're putting into what string position. Now once you have those, gather them up, because you can take them and you can rewind them up in a way that makes them easy to dispose of. Simply firmly grasp it in one hand, wrap it around that hand, and then loop it under itself at least 2 times. I like to do it twice, and then I typically crimp it up, which you see me doing right there, just to make sure it's sturdy. Grab the strings you took off the headstock and repeat that process. And this keeps you from having any little sharp pokey things that are getting lost and going around. There's your trash. Go ahead and throw it away. Additionally, get your strings. This is why I don't like to cut them over the sound hole, because the string ends don't end up big enough to do that particular process with. Now, here's your strings. Note, they all have different numbers on them. Those are the string gauges. Pay attention to those. It tells you what string should go in which. We're going to start with our biggest string, our E string. So one thing I did forget to tell you to grab is a graphite pencil, preferably a mechanical one, and I'll show you why later. So, as I said, we're going to start with the low E string, or the 6th string. That is a 54 gauge in this particular set. So go ahead and take it out of the package and get it unwound. Now, if you look at that little brass end, you put it into the saddle. Some people like to crimp it a little first to let it go in nicely. I like to pull it up and then push the pin, set it over the actual saddle slot that's going to slide through. Then, after you've got your hole in your tuning tree already set up, run it through there. Get it set up with your nut slot, and then go 1.5 tuning positions up. 1.5. Then once you get there, that's where you cut it. And the reason is you don't want too few or too many windings on your guitar tuner. Typically, right around 3 to 4 is perfect. Sometimes you can get away with 2.5. You go over 4 and you got way too many on there. Now slide it back down to where it should go. Grab your actual winder, and remember that you're winding the actual tuning thing to go towards. So you want the string that is on the inside, or that is actually going to be played, to be moving on the inside of the headstock. To do that, just remember which direction is tuning up the pitch of your note. So on this side of the headstock, it is away from the guitar. So I'm winding it away from the guitar to make sure it goes over there. Now the tag end, I am holding up to make sure that the rest of the string goes under it. That is absolutely critical because you want them to go under, not on top of. Now that is for the wound strings, like the E string. Now while that string is loose, go ahead and grab that graphite pencil, grab a little bit of lead, and you're just going to want to just kind of color in the actual slot on the nut. And what that is, that graphite is going to act as a lubricant that will allow the string to pass and slide through that nut when you're doing things like bending or in playing, and keep your guitar in tune better. Repeat that process for your other ones. Now let me show you something on the other side. This is the B string. We do this one just a little bit differently because it doesn't have that bronze wrapping on it. It is a straight steel string. So the process on the other end with the peg is the exact same as the other strings. So I'll just go ahead and do that now. And I'm going to go ahead and lubricate the saddle as well, just like I did the nut. Now, just like we did with the low E string, string it through, go up 1.5, or in this case, I went up 2 because I'm leaving a little bit bigger of a tag on the end to begin with. 2 tuning positions, and cut it off there. Now, go ahead and get that back in a position where you want it and start preparing to go ahead and wind it. Now with this one, here's the keys. Get it started. You want a little bit of a bigger tag here because you want to get it started and go ahead and start winding. Remember, you're winding in the direction that would be tuning the pitch up, and that forces the string to go towards the inside of the headstock. Now, this is critical with the straight steel strings. You want to go over that tag for the first turning and then under for all of the other ones. And that will lock it in place and force it to hold the string just a little bit better. Once you have that under it, one time just string it up as normal. So as I'm sitting here finishing up the other strings, I realized I forgot to tell you guys a couple very important things. One, pay attention to your string gauges. The higher the number, the thicker the string, which means your highest number goes on your low E string, the 6th string. The lowest number is your high E string. 2, how to unpackage these. They come wound up very similar to what I already had. Now you can hold it by 2 ends and unwrap it manually, or you can do it the way a legendary adventurer would. That is to hold it away from your head and just give it a pinch, and it will magically do it on its own. But make sure you hold it away from your head because we don't want that sharp little end there to go into your eye. All right? All right, so real quick, as promised, we've got it all strung up. So on there, you can see the fretboard looking all nice. Those frets looking shiny, nice new strings, no oxidation. As I said, I would play it for you. Now there's a couple more steps because you're not completely done. So first of all, tune your guitar up. I've already done that with this one, right? So now you can hear it. So this is the same setup, same room, nothing new. I didn't put my light back up there. So as I promised, here's that intro again. This time with new strings. See how much better that sounds? Because these are some nice live strings. Now, it is in tune currently, but there's a couple more steps I want you to do. It'll be hard to tune up the first time. I'm going to warn you. You're going to tune each individual string, E, all the way up. Then you come back down to E, and it's going to be flat. Just happens. It's part of the string stretching as well as the tension coming back to the neck as you're tuning everything up. It's normal. For the first couple of days, it may fall out of tune a little bit, but this will hopefully help you with that issue and allow it to happen not quite so often. This is what's called pre-stretching your strings. Now on acoustics, I go a little bit lighter than I do with electrics, just because I do. So I like to just grab a string, take my 4 fingers right around the 12th fret, and just give it a little tug. So like I said, they're all in tune right now, right? So we'll give each one a little tug. Oh, that is no longer in tune. The other way that you can stretch out your strings, you can grab it. And I used to do this a lot. I would finger down around the 3rd fret, give it a stretch, go up to the 5th, give it a stretch, and I'm grabbing on the 12th fret. The 7th, give it a stretch, and then open, give it a stretch. Now it's much lower. Let's hear the difference. So here's my A string, right? Grabbing at the 12th, the 3rd, little wiggle, 5th, still at the 12th, little wiggle, 7th, still at the 12th, little wiggle, then open, little wiggle. Much lower. And I'm just gonna do that for each string, just to get it to stretch out a little bit more and help out with that process so that I'm speeding along. Don't be too aggressive with this. I know it looks like I'm going hard or really fast or aggressive. I'm really not. I've just done this a lot. And then I would retune up. And now it's gonna not fall out of tune quite as drastically and hopefully not as often.